Welcome back, everybody, to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I have the pleasure to be joined by my friend Austin Eckert. And today we're going to break down the recent news regarding Chiefs running back Clyde Edwards-helaire. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Chiefs Kingdom, we've got some breaking news involving Chiefs running back Clyde Edwards-helaire. He has been placed on the non-football illness list by the Kansas City Chiefs, which means that Helaire will miss the first 4 games of the season before he is eligible to return. He was put on the non-football illness list because he had that PTSD struggle that he came out with, and it was pretty clear that he was in no position to play football with everything that was going on. He was spending time in the hospital, he wasn't practicing, and he didn't really play much in the preseason. So, Austin, what do you think? What are your initial thoughts on Helaire being put on this list? And do you think that he is going to be an active member of this team moving forward?
Well, I hope so. And, I think everybody around hopes that ends up being the case. But, just talking about Clyde Edwards-helaire's situation, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And if you go back and read the story about how these PTSD struggles began, nobody wants to be in those types of situations, and unfortunately, this is the world we live in. Sometimes you gotta do what's best, and you gotta protect yourself, and it's heartbreaking. It really is, and I really hope that we get to see him play this season. When he's played at his best, he's been an unbelievable football player, and it's always important to make sure that your mind is right, because if your mind is right, then nothing else about your body or anything is right. So making sure your mind is right is very important, and I certainly hope that we get to see Clyde Edwards-helaire play at some point this season for the Chiefs.
That's a really good point. I think that Clyde was always going to make this team, like coming out of the offseason and training camp and the preseason. He didn't really even have to play to make this team. But the Chiefs also got insurance with Carson Steele, the UDFA that made the team as second running back. And then they just signed Samaje Perine, who just got cut from the Denver Broncos. So the Chiefs have made moves to, I guess, pick up the slack that Clyde Edwards-helaire is leaving. But I also think that the Chiefs coaching staff talked so highly about Clyde. Matt Nagy actually had some really kind comments about the kind of dude that he was and just the locker room presence that he is. And speaking towards his locker room presence, I think that he is a team favorite. Everybody on this team loves Clyde. He's a locker room guy that is good for the culture and the chemistry that this team is built. And so for that standpoint, I understand why he made this team. Now, I would push back a little bit on him being a super productive player. You've seen, him get beat out by a 7th-round draft pick in Isaiah Pacheco, and he hasn't looked great in a lot of the moments that he's played. But listen, if he was going through this PTSD stuff, he might have never been able to be the Clyde Edwards-helaire that he was at LSU if all of this stuff was going on mentally. So maybe he has a resurgence after he gets the help that he needs. But, this was pretty serious. Over the offseason, he was spending nights in the hospital. You kind of saw it on his Instagram stories. Mm-hmm. And so I think putting him on this list is a great thing because it gives him time for, recovery. And it also lets the Chiefs, keep him on the roster. If it was between Clyde Edwards-helaire playing week 1 and not making the team, I don't think that he makes the team.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a game of what if, the what if game, is very broad and those things. But, I just hope that Clyde comes back and plays for the Chiefs. I would love to see him out there playing, and I certainly hope he gets the help that he needs as well because, like I said earlier, you got to just make sure your mind is right because if your mind's not right, then nothing else about yourself is right.
So I guess one of my questions for you is how do you feel about the Chiefs' running back room with Clyde not there?
Well, Samaje Perine is an interesting addition. I've seen him play in college a bunch of times. He was an absolute beast at Oklahoma. And then, seeing him play all throughout his NFL career, he's bounced around with a couple of teams. And I was very surprised to see that the Broncos got rid of Samaje, and for a divisional rival, the Chiefs to pick him up, I think was an absolute steal. I think he's still a decent player. I think he'll be good on third down and short situations. He's a powerful runner and he can truck over defenders, and he's got that capability. He is significantly older now, so he may not be as strong as he once was, but I still think he can be good in those third down and short situations. And then Carson Steele, obviously, I'm very excited to see him play. I mean,
we all are.
He won me over during the preseason, and I thought, I didn't even think he was going to make the 53-man roster at one point, and then he just went off and did his thing, and then I was like, yeah, I really hope that we keep him. But I liked him, all throughout from the beginning, and so to see him make the team, was great, and I certainly hope he gets a lot of action. I could see him being, a type of guy that will help block maybe on certain plays, and I think third down short situations will be great too to get Steele in, or maybe some play action, stuff. He'll be great, and then for Pacheco, obviously, very excited to see him play again. He's been so good ever since he's been with the Chiefs, and to see him, have the type of career that he's already had in his, first couple of seasons is pretty special.
I feel pretty confident about the Chiefs running back room. I feel like they have all of the horses in the stable to get the job done, and they might have more depth this year than they did last year. And so with Steele and Pirine joining the force, I think that I feel pretty good about the Chiefs running back room. And again, not to downplay Clyde Edwards-Helaire's production, but you could match Clyde's production with Pirine and Steele. I'm not worried about that. I think that, from a non-football standpoint, we just want Clyde to get healthy. And at the end of the day, if that can happen, then it's a success for the Chiefs. But I don't think there's really any expectations for him to come back and wow people. It's kind of just come back, be healthy, and join this team again. I don't really expect him to get a bunch of carries or a bunch of snaps. I just think he's going to come back and probably fit into the fold, and he might even be behind Pirine and Steele when he gets back.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, obviously, but, I don't think it's fair to, put, statistical expectations on him, especially, after what he's gone through recently, and, he's going to be worked back in slowly whenever he does return to the field, and, I still see him being a productive member of the Chiefs when he does return, and it's going to be exciting to see what he does.
I think that's really all we have for this video. We just wanted to break down that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was put on the non-injury football list, and it's going to have him sidelined for the first 4 games of the NFL season, but he is eligible to return in Week 5, and so I think the Chiefs running back room will be just fine up until then. So for Austin Eckert, I am Michael Darcy. Thank you guys for listening to this video, and go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.